Experience is always better in a group. The Christian experience doubly so. We're just a group of gamers that love to talk about life, God, and video games, in no particular order. So whether you're a newbie or a grizzled ancient like us, we want to help each other roll the level.
Welcome to another edition of the Roll the Level podcast. My name is Matt, and I'm super excited today because we're going to be talking about video games.
Woo!
More specifically, we're talking about digital versus physical video games. Not a death match or anything like that, but just some interesting stuff in the news. And I wanted to pull my cohorts into this discussion because I think it's a discussion worth having. But before we get there, let me introduce my co-host, Sarah. Sarah, how are you doing today?
It is an amazing day.
Amazing day. That's exciting.
There's 4 Dragon Quest games that came out today on the Switch.
What?
So
in
it is
that
a
case,
great
I'll see you
day.
next month.
Exactly. Goodbye life. It is now owned by Dragon Quest. I'll see you later at Christmas or something.
As long as you surface for Christmas.
Exactly.
That's fine. And Dame, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I am. I'm doing pretty all right. You know,
Nice.
I think by the time this recording goes live, I will be in my glory because behold, Destiny
yes.
2
Oh,
Shadowkeep
yeah.
has arrived.
That's right. That's exciting. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get that.
Very, very excited.
Magic money.
I'm very, very excited about that. So
That's awesome.
looking forward to it.
That's cool. I am totally unrelated. Well, it's sort of related. I am only $30 away from completely paying off my $300 pre-order for Doom Eternal. I have almost sold everything I own. It's great.
Yeah, pretty much.
I
Things
sold,
just keep disappearing.
Yeah, I sold.
is-
What's that?
It is your pearl of great price.
It's true. It's true. I ended up last week, selling off. I had a couple old consoles left, so I got rid of those and
Sweet.
knocked
Poor
a good
GameCube,
chunk of what
RIP.
was left on there. So I'm down to the last 30. So now I'm just waiting for a really good trade-in value day, and I've got a couple games just sitting and waiting. So
So where you can get 75 cents instead of 5 cents.
right? You got her,
per
man.
game.
You got her. Absolutely. But anyway, I do want to. I want to have a bit of a discussion today about some interesting stuff that happened in the news. So we'll make sure we put this article in the description for the podcast and for the vidcast as well. But there was a recent court case that was kind of settled here in France, I believe. Paris.
You're in France?
I was going to say, here?
What's
Where
that?
are you?
I
No.
mean,
Your verbiage was
realize
interesting.
I realize Ontario is close to Quebec, but
No. Here in France. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sorry. There is a Paris, Ontario, though, isn't there?
That is very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I was gonna say. Anyway, not in Paris, Ontario, though. Paris in France. Paris Court of First Instance found earlier this week that Valve was in breach of the European law. So I'm not gonna read it all because it's a bunch of law jargon. But basically, what it came down to is that they were upset with Valve because Valve does not allow users to resell things that they have purchased. The argument Valve makes is there's no physical thing to trade. This is all digital. It's all all copyright protected. You can't do it. And so anyway, it's been this debate. It's been this thing back and forth. They've been in court for quite some time about it. But it came out that basically in this court case, Valve lost. And so now they're in breach and they get fined €3,000 a day for every day they don't comply. And it's this insane thing. So it's now being appealed by Valve. Yeah, Valve's actually appealing it right now. But if that fails, then they'll be in breach. And then it'll be €3,000 a day, basically, for every day they don't allow people to resell their digital products, like used games. So that, this kind of stems from a much larger discussion that's been on the internet for several years now, of this whole idea of, why can't I sell my digital stuff, right? Like I buy games. We just talked about trading games. I mean, I just sold off old consoles so I could get Doom Eternal with my sweet helmet. But it it sparks an interesting conversation. So I want to kind of throw it at us this morning and kind of ask a few questions. And before we get into kind of the debate question, one of the other questions that's come up a lot and I really actually want to talk about is, do you think we are ending the era of physical games? Because there's, realistically nowadays, the only time that I know I personally ever buy physical games is when it's like a collector's edition, or if I'm in I'm in EB Games or GameStop if you're in the US, and I go to the bargain bin and I can get 3 games for $20 or something, But for the most part, I buy everything digital. It's way cheaper. There's always a discount. when I buy stuff. Like even on release now, there's discounts. But what do you guys think? Do you think we're seeing an end to an era when it comes to physical games, or do you think this is going to keep going? Sarah, why don't you start us out?
I would say the storefront proves that it's going that way, just because EB Games here or GameStop. I always get GameSpot and GameStop mixed up. But
It's all good.
in the U.S. have proved over time that they are more Funko than video game now.
Ah, truth.
That's
So
true.
Yeah.
it's pretty much going the way of the dodo bird, unfortunately. Because I personally I only buy physical games, if I can get them cheaper than digital, which
Yeah.
is almost never.
Mhm.
But E3 in Canada is like the time of year when 20% off, 30% off sales happen if you pre-order the game.
Mhm.
That's the only time I'll ever get physical copies, because like I share some games with my son.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's just easier to switch the Switch cartridge. But now that I realized I can share them quite easily digitally,
Yeah.
it's like yesterday I was telling Matt that my son stole Link's Awakening out of my Switch, and I'm like, oh,
How dare he?
Right.
So it's like, I guess I'm not playing this right now. And then it was nighttime. I didn't want to wake him up by going in his room and getting his Switch. So it's like, oh,
Oh, you're
I'm
such a
not-
nice parent. I
I'm
totally
not-
would have gone in and got it.
he's a light sleeper. So
I was
yeah,
going to say,
I
this
wasn't
is
gonna
why
get
I'm
it.
not a parent, because I would have gone and flipped the mattress and they're like, what are you thinking? Come
I
on.
thought it was adorable that he was playing it in general. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, no,
that's
I'll
awesome.
I'll play something else random until Dragon Quest comes out at 12 a.m. So, but yeah, I
that was
do
the last
think
night Sarah slept.
for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Right.
So you say, and then you think the digital is the way we're going.
I think it is, but it's such a weird place right now. Like it's so new still. Like you have to also think of other digital mediums like music and movies and TV shows that Apple or Google or whatever sells.
Yeah.
They also don't allow these things. They also don't allow trading or reselling. So why is only Valve in breach right now and not all these other companies?
That's an interesting
We're
perspective.
getting ahead of our question.
I
That's all right. That's
guess.
all right.
I'm sorry.
No, it's,
No, you're
it's,
good.
it's a good question though, and
You're
hold,
good.
Hold the
You-
thought, Dame.
Yeah, hold,
what are your
that
thoughts?
thought.
I'm
Yeah,
paused.
sorry, Sarah. So for me, I like, in some cases, like you guys, having a physical copy of the. I apologize, I did that thing where I didn't silence my phone.
I heard it.
Noob.
Such
Sorry,
a
buddy.
noob.
I still
Such a
love you.
noob
I
move.
still love you.
Thanks, guys. So I'm kind of in that same boat where if there's like a collector's edition of something that's a title that I really really want or really like, then I do that. Like I looked at the Soldier First Class edition of the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I probably won't go quite in that deep for
Sure.
that.
Is this gonna be an accountability issue later? Are we talking about this?
February
might
rolls
be.
around.
It might be.
Oh,
I
fair.
mean, it's my understanding that October is Pastoral Appreciation Month, so if you're out there, Final Fantasy VII
That's right,
Soldier
that's right.
First Class
Soldier,
Edition
yeah.
remake. Wouldn't
You have to buy all the collector's edition though for all the parts of Final Fantasy VII, which would just be awful.
It would be awful. It would be awful. So I guess for me, like I am more prone to buy a digital copy of the game, not necessarily from the standpoint of it being cheaper, but from the standpoint of if I'm playing on a console, with that digital copy, the reality is that your load times are going to be far better reading from most of your digital downloads than it is going to be from the media that's a part of whatever the console is, whether it's a optical disc or a cartridge. I mean, the speed just isn't there as well. I'm not entirely sure as far as like a Switch cartridge.
Yeah, I was
goes,
gonna say
what the
Switch might be
transfer
different, but on
Switch-
traditional optical drives, yeah.
Yes, but on like a traditional optical drive, I mean, the load times are killer for stuff like that, especially if you're playing something like a AAA title that's going to be very, very graphics intensive, very feature intensive. So I guess for me, like what it really comes down to, I'm with you guys on like the money thing, like being a good steward of like what you're actually spending on the games, but like there's also the performance side of it too. Is the game going to perform at its at its best possible chance of performance
Mm-hmm.
on the system, and what medium is going to be, or I should say, what media is going to be the piece that's going to provide that. So,
Yeah. Well, that's-
so do
yeah, go
So
ahead.
so do I think that digital is going to replace hard copy? I think that unless there is a major technological shift
Mm-hmm.
in how we're reading the video game media that we're getting
Mm.
in next generation consoles, then I think that yes, it's like digital is going to be the best delivery method for
Yeah.
new titles.
Interesting.
I don't. Yeah. Okay. I have a couple things that you made
Go
me
for
think
it,
of.
Sarah.
Do you have an external hard drive for your PS4?
I have an external hard drive, but I have not converted it over for my PS4.
Because I have corrupt 2 hard drives and had to download the whole PS4 library twice.
2 drives.
I
impressive.
I know, but the power shuts off and it corrupts the whole drive, and I have to re-download the whole library. I've had to do that twice, and I have
it
all the
couldn't do
PS
it
Plus
couldn't do a
games.
rebuild?
No, it couldn't. It just
Oh.
stopped working.
Oh, I'm sorry. For
So
your loss.
yeah, that was unfortunate. So that did not help my digital future.
Mm.
But as someone who has moved 6 times in 4 years, I could tell you, every time I move, I keep making my physical library smaller.
And that's saying a lot because
Yeah.
like for our listeners and even for you, Dame, like Sarah's, I've gone to their place quite a few times, and her physical library is massive.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
it's
a
like
pain in
floor
the
to ceiling
But
massive.
to move.
Yeah,
I
it's,
bet.
it's incredible. It's impressive to look at, but I wouldn't want to move.
But
it.
it's like, I don't know, all these shows on Netflix and all these books about like decluttering your life, and it's just so much easier to hide when it's digital. I forget I have things now. It's like, do I own that? Oh, I already own this digitally as it says it's purchased, but I would
And-
probably
and
would have rebought it.
And Sarah's like, but it all brings me joy.
I know.
Well, and the other side of
let
that
it
too,
go.
and I wonder if this principle carries over, right? Like there was all that research showing that like when we use physical cash versus debit versus credit, there's a different trigger in our brain
For sure.
Yeah.
about how we acknowledge that. And I wonder if the same is true with purchasing physical media versus digital. Because I mean, how many games do you have in your Steam library right now that you haven't even touched, but you bought on a
don't
sweet
know.
sale,
Yeah.
right?
I do like
Vers-
PSN flash sales. It's like,
Right?
oh, they're all like $1 PS1 games. Okay, I might play this one day.
Yeah.
I have
Versus
not a clue.
like, hey, every physical game I have in my library right now, I've played through.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
that's another side of that I kind of look at and go, oh wow, like is this where we're going to? Like where we're buying all these digital titles, but we never actually play
The
them.
backlog is crying.
Yeah. I don't even try my backlog anymore. Like I just roll a dice and whatever it lands on, that's what I go with. so.
That is actually a really, really interesting. That would be a really interesting case study to see. Like, what is the percentage of completed games versus backlog in digital versus physical
That's true.
ownership?
Yeah, I don't even know how you measure that.
And I
but-
think that you make a really, really excellent point there, Matt, about the psychology that's in there too. Because I'm like thinking back to how many games have I purchased a physical copy of that I have completed versus those that I haven't in the last like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's maybe been one that I haven't completed.
Like physical,
And
you mean?
Yeah, just
Oh, okay.
just a physical. Yeah, just a physical copy that I think that, and maybe that's has something to do with the whole like starting to review video games thing.
Yeah.
Versus
Fair.
less time for for actually like setting aside for a single release versus
That's true.
the log of stuff that I'm reviewing, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I wonder if there's a correlation between completion and physical purchase versus digital purchase and just kind of dabbling. Because I think for me, like, if I spend $1 or $2 on something, I'm like,
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
if I got 5 minutes of enjoyment out of it, I gotten my money's worth.
It's true. It's cheaper than going to a movie.
Yeah, it's cheaper than going to a movie. That's actually a really, really good way of
Right.
putting it. Like, let's say I get an hour's worth of play out of this. Okay, have I gotten my value out of the whole dollar that I
Exactly right.
the single of dollars that I spent on
exactly.
on this thing. Now that kind of brings us into the conversation about resale here,
Yeah.
because Sarah started to make a really, really good point about this, which I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to you, Sarah, about like the other forms of digital media, in asking the question of, should we be able to resell digital content, whether it's music or movies or video games with their expansions and DLC and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's a little tougher nowadays, though, too. Like, there's a couple of points maybe that make it a little harder. Like, video games are much more expensive than those mediums, usually. Like,
Yeah.
buying a $60 game versus a $1 song. Like, it's
Well,
very different.
If you're in Canada, it's a $90
Well, yeah, I was
game.
using America bucks.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Sure,
Canada
sure.
bucks. $1.29 iTunes song or an $80 game.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little harder. But now we have the subscription services, which also throw a wrench in it. Like, oh, I can get any Spotify song I want for my
Yeah.
$10 a month, and I'm not like doing.
Which,
I don't know,
if I'm not
spending $80.
mistaken, and I would have to check with people that I know in the music industry, but if I'm not mistaken, that the cut for artists in that stuff is terrible.
In
Yeah.
streaming service?
Well,
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
streaming services.
I believe it.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can
But
believe that.
yeah, I don't know. It makes it all weird with Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you don't really own anything anymore.
Which
No,
So-
that's
sorry, there's actually a really, really funny story. Speaking of the like selling the artists getting money on streaming services and stuff like that. There's a guy named Jack Stratton. I believe that's his name. He's the leader of a band called Wolfpack.
Okay.
And they did a thing a little while back where like Spotify was paying artists based off of playtime, I believe.
I think it's like 30
And-
seconds you have to listen.
Yeah, it was like 30 seconds or something like that. They released an entire album that was just tracks of silence, and they had their listeners just put it on in the background during their day and while they were sleeping.
And that, friends,
stuff
is
like-
how you play the algorithm.
I mean, just this dude. If you've ever watched any video interviews with him, he is just way out in left field.
Yeah.
I mean, his responses to people are just hilarious, because there are these like market analysts that are trying to figure out like, how did you figure out the algorithm and blah blah blah
Beat the
blah.
system.
And he's just
amazing.
hilarious dude. Their music is fantastic too. But anyway, that's a
No, it's
whole
good.
other-
So
Well-
I actually do want to talk about streaming in a minute because it kind of raises an interesting point. But on the point of like digital purchase, do you guys what do you guys think about this idea of being able to resell content? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
I would love it.
Yeah. Why would you love it, Sarah?
Because I have so much, like, it's a thing where physical games I have a less of attachment to. So because I can buy it, and if I don't like it, I can resell it, or I can lend it. Like,
Yeah.
I have less attachment to it. Where digital games, I feel, because I paid money for it, I have to beat it because I cannot get rid of it. I'm stuck with it. So I sometimes will enjoy a game less because right now I'm playing through a game I don't necessarily love, but I said, well, I paid full price for this because I was excited for it. Now I don't like it, but hey, to get my money's worth out of it, I gotta beat it. So I'm enjoying it less because I feel stuck.
Yeah.
So
that
if-
whole sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, exactly. So if I was able to resell it for just a fraction of the cost, I would probably
Yeah.
be much, like, even if it was for gift cards or something, like a gift card towards a PSN store or something.
Yeah, or like credit or
Totally
something.
fine with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely enjoy games less because of digital.
I guess the question I would ask with that is like what, and I hate to be the guy to ask this question, but I feel like it's relevant in this. Like what is to keep people from gaming the system with that? Like I know with Steam they have a
family sharing.
window.
Or,
They have a window
Oh.
in which, like, if you purchase a game, I'm wanting to say it's like a 24-hour or 48-hour window that you have to.
you have
be
to
able
like play the game like only for an hour or something.
Yeah,
at
you only get so
most.
much
It's-
playtime too.
Yeah.
It's something goofy. It's
Yeah.
something goofy, but it is a system that keeps people from like say plowing through a game in 24 hours
Mm-hmm.
and then being like, oh well, I finished the game, I'm just going to return it.
Yeah.
Because that's crummy to
Agreed.
that's crummy to the
Oh, it
developers
happens.
too.
Yeah.
You know, and this kind of goes back to like, I'm going to just kind of throw a scriptural point in here, because I think that this is kind of a valuable thing when we're dealing with any type of like resale or money, you know, and stuff like that. And that is that you should always pay a workman what they're due.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get really, really frustrated. And this is kind of bringing things into the church world here, like, and even sometimes in Christianity, like I get really, really frustrated sometimes as Christians when we're like, you know, I'm being a good steward of God's money, and then we just cheap out on people, or we don't pay people in the value of of the work that they've done for us, or whatever the thing is.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I would rather treat someone generously for the work that they've done for me than cheap out. Like I actually think that's being a better steward, because you're not just being a steward with the monetary thing, you're being a steward with the relationship, the relational thing
Yeah.
too. So when it comes to reselling digital content, I guess that I am torn on this, because I see the side of Valve in this court case of saying like, look, there's really nothing physical that we have there's nothing physical that we're selling. And so there's really not anything that a user has to resell. But at the same point in time, like you're buying I almost wonder if we are looking at buying digital copies of games as us buying a product versus us buying into a service. And this kind of goes into that like games as services conversation. Like if I have a membership to a gym, like I have certain privileges because of that membership.
Yeah.
Some of those privileges extend to like if I have a guest, I can bring a guest along with me.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing goes with some of the digital game stuff too, is that, you know, like with Matt, you and I have done this where we share Steam library.
Yep.
Where you know, if I've got a game that Matt wants to play, you know, there's certain limitations that are placed on that, which is I think are good limitations.
Yeah, agreed.
But at the end of the day, like I wonder if we're looking at the digital content the wrong way. And so maybe that needs to inform better the way that we decide, you know, are we going to have a physical copy of the game or are we going to have a digital copy of the game?
Well, see, and I definitely see where you're coming from on that, because agreed. In some cases, it's very much like some of these things really are just services, right?
Yeah.
But the flip side of that too is that like if I can go buy the same product physically and digitally, then isn't it still a product at that point? And if I can in one medium trade it, sell it, whatever, should I? And I'm just playing the other side of this, right? Just for the sake of process, should I not then be able to take that digital version of that and do the same thing? Is it not the same thing? Are we saying that my digital copy does not have the same value as my physical? And if that's the case, why are we charging the same price?
Well, I didn't pay taxes on APSN games.
Well,
Sorry,
we used
Canada.
to not pay taxes. Now we
Well,
do.
in Quebec you do.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
like,
Quebec.
so there's, you know, like if we're getting into this nuance of, well, this isn't actually a product versus this is a product, then the price point really needs to reflect that. And it doesn't.
Yeah.
So you can't, what is it? Have your cake and eat it too, right?
I would almost guarantee if we did that, the cost of games would go up, not down.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree with you. But that's what I'm saying. Like it's so hard to draw hard, clean lines on this discussion about like what is this thing that we're trying to do as far as is this a physical product? Is this a service? Is this a digital product? Is this, you know, because when you start going down that road, you run into these issues of like, well, if we're going to start distinguishing these two different things, physical copies are going to go through the roof. And digital aren't going to change.
Well, but we already see that though.
Yeah,
we
that's true.
already see that. I mean, back in college, Matt, you had a pretty vast collection of classic video games.
Yeah.
So you had your NES and your SNES and all those. those systems. And I remember going to Moncton, I believe, with you. There was a classic games shop over in Moncton.
Yep.
And this is like several years after the fact, but they had a physical copy of the SNES smash hit Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, they did.
Holla.
Yeah, they did.
And the Chrono Trigger cartridge, if I'm not mistaken, was somewhere around $100.
Yep.
Okay, so you have a game in physical form that is that has increased in value because it is a
Physical
dearly loved product and a physical copy of that dearly
Truth.
loved product.
Yeah.
So I guess what I wonder is if it's such a thing from a digital standpoint, like if we are going to get into this market of buying and reselling, like, is it such a thing where there need to be a limited number of digital licenses for a game?
Yeah.
And so that would then we would get into this business of like, well, now we actually can say that we have you own a product because you have that either that product key or that license, that one of whatever of that product. So then each of those can be accounted for.
Yeah.
And again, like, I don't even know that that's a perfect system, because then you get into things like digital piracy. And
Well,
stuff
and
like
I was going to say that's where you're going to run into a lot of rampant issues of piracy because, again, the one thing that's nice now is like, I can sell something on Kijiji locally, but even that has its own checks and balances in place, right?
Yep.
But there's nothing to stop. Like, it's going to be a lot harder to police digital marketplace. Like, you'll have your official digital marketplaces and stuff like that with their guarantees and their security certificates and all that jazz for buying and selling. But that's not going to stop all of the underground black market selling and buying of games and it starts a whole other debate and discussion.
It is a giant rabbit hole.
It is.
That is it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it all plays out.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
I think that Valve, you said it's 3,000 euros a day.
I think that's what I read.
I think
could be
for like a
wrong.
maximum number of days though. Like, I don't think it's forever.
Okay.
Yeah, like it caps, right?
Yeah.
But it is still 3,000 euros a day or something.
But I'd be very curious to see what the hard cap is on that, because like I almost wonder if Valve will take a look at that,
Eat the cost.
and if Gabe Newell will just be like, you know what, we got money.
Let me write you a check.
Let me just write you a check.
Yeah.
We're having our winter sale in a couple of months. We're gonna make that back.
It's true. Which then, I mean, the sad part about that though is then you can basically just pay your way past the law.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting precedent.
It wouldn't be the first time.
I know.
In human history
I know.
happened.
But that's like that's the frustrating part in this is that at the end of the day, it's going to be the indies that get hurt by all of this.
It is, and that's
why the Epic
really,
Game Store came in.
What's that?
That's why the Epic Game Store exists.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, with their whole like what
Revenue
3%. Yeah, their whole revenue split. Is
Yeah.
it like 13% or?
It's
I don't
Higher
know.
than Valve.
Yeah, it is higher than
Yeah.
Valve's. Yeah.
Well,
But that brings me actually to
yeah.
one last question, and it's not the question I was going to ask. I'm going to throw a different one at you because as we discuss this,
right.
it kind of get in my head, and we'll keep this one short because we're getting low on time. But what do you guys think? Like the difference between, or sorry, let me rephrase this. Why do you think it's so much harder for gamers to get into signing up for a streaming service for their games versus like music or Netflix or any of those things, right? Because like we buy Spotify subscriptions or Google Play subscriptions or Apple Music subscriptions without even thinking about it, right? I love Spotify. Like I don't want to buy stuff anymore. I just want to be able to hit the download button and it's all there and I don't think about it because it's easy and it's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix is the same way. Like we rarely buy movies anymore. We just watch them on Netflix or I'll
even
rent.
go to the movies because it's like, oh, it'll show up on Netflix.
Well, exactly. Or I'll rent it on Google for 48 hours, right? So why do you think gamers struggle so much with this? And I mean, I guess arguably maybe we struggled with this with music when it first happened, but I don't know. I feel like gamers are really, and I'm kind of in that boat, to be honest with you, and I don't know why I'm in that boat, but I'm in that boat of I don't want to sign up for a streaming service.
I have a very strong opinion on this.
Yeah, I want to hear it because this is I'm all over the board on this.
Yeah. So I think that we struggle with it because it's not a proven system.
Okay.
I think that the attempts that have been made at having a subscription based service for games
Yeah.
have not provided enough value for the dollar that are put into them.
Yeah.
Now that is being changed with things like the Xbox games, or what is it, Game Pass?
Yeah. Yep.
With the Game Pass and with Apple Arcade.
Yeah.
People are starting to see that, okay, there is actually legitimate value. Like we're not just getting stuck with, leftovers here. Like, cause I'll tell you one of the things I've always struggled with gaming on the console has been like for PlayStation and for Xbox, in order to take advantage of the online features for that, you have to have a live service, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't have Nintendo's live service because I don't see the value in it. PlayStation, I have the live service simply because that's for the longest time where I, was able to connect with some family and friends for gaming. And so, there was that added value of like every month there were free games, but like not every month were they good games.
Truth.
that they gave you. And so I just really don't think that. I think when you look at the cost of an annual subscription for something like that, I just don't know that there has been the. I mean, I suppose you could go in and you could say, okay, well, look at the price of all of these games and add them up, and they, cost
the
less
value
than
is
the quote unquote value is there, but it's not necessarily value to me that's there.
Yep.
And I just wonder if the reason why we have such a really, really difficult time with the subscription service is because it's just unproven. It's new ground that we have yet to see a really, really excellent service that's done like that. And so there's just not an interest in buying in.
Yeah.
The other side of that too is like how many people got burned on subscribing to MMOs in the early 2000s. We had so many MMOs that came out that made so many promises in their content that I'm sorry, but very few of them delivered.
Well, very few still exist. So
yeah, very few still exist, and very few of them delivered on those promises. And so again, going back to that sunk cost thing, it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to put my money into something, I want it to be into something that I'm going to enjoy.
yeah.
And if a subscription service can't offer that, then it's just simply not worth the money to me.
I would agree.
That's my impassioned.
It was good. It was good. I would agree. Like, we definitely haven't seen a lot of great examples. I also agree that I think we're starting to see a shift. Like, I point to Xbox Pass because that thing, Game Pass, I have been thoroughly impressed with that, actually.
Yeah.
And I got in on a sweet deal with it too, because I just bought a new Xbox again and had just bought my live subscription for the year, and then they're like, hey, for an extra $1, we'll upgrade you to the Ultimate.
Oh, hey,
okay.
yeah, that'd be all right.
Now the sweet thing about that though is that I didn't have to pre-order Gears, because
Nice.
Gears 5, because and that's $90. So I've already basically paid for my subscription service for the year in one game.
Right.
But again, it's giving me the value I'm looking for, and I would say
Yes.
Xbox is for the most part doing a really good job at selecting games that are giving value for a wide range of people, which is super important in this process.
Yes.
This has been my biggest gripe with PlayStation recently, is that a lot of, like, when I look at their monthly, like, here's the games, guys, that you get with the service. Man, it is so hit and miss, and it used to be really good. Like when this service first dropped, I don't know, I loved it. Like it was great games all the time. And I'm like, yeah, there's good value here. I don't mind paying for this. And now I'm looking at it going, man, like I feel like I'm getting hosed here with this. Like it's
you
just,
used to get Vita games, now you don't.
yeah, well that's it, right?
I want my Vita games. Give me more.
yeah, exactly, right? And so
What
yeah,
is
so
this
I
Vita
think
you
we
speak
are
of?
starting to see some value in it. I'm a little concerned with the whole Google, whatever the thing's called,
The Stadia?
Stadia, only because like it has the potential to move us forward, with the
It's
gaming
not
service
really a
thing.
game subscription service, though.
Does it though?
Well, so it has the potential because it's offering a lot of AAA titles. My concern is that Google has this terrible history of being, oh, look at our shiny thing. Oh yeah, we're done with that. We're
But you
bored."
have to rebuy those titles digitally.
Well, that's the problem too, right? Like it's
Another
weird,
place to own your digital games.
Yeah, it's a weird system because it's like, hey, we want all of your money twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's weird. I don't even know. But Sarah,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your opinion
Sorry.
on this, and then if you don't mind closing those out, that'd be great.
I'm probably opposite to all you people because I am part of every subscription service.
Well,
Okay,
you're
but
not-
I
you're
have
not
like a
far behind.
cycle. Like I got the Nintendo service for free through Twitch Prime, so
Yeah,
I got
true.
that for free for a year.
Yeah.
Every Black Friday, I buy my PlayStation Plus subscription because I get $20 off every year,
Yeah.
like clockwork.
Fair.
Yeah.
And I get the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate every 2 months because every 2 months they seem to have a deal where I spend $2 and get it for 2 months. So I just keep canceling my subscription, and they consider me a new user every time.
Listeners, if you ever need to know how to game the
Yeah,
system, you
I
can
have
talk to
gamed
Sarah.
it the best.
She knows all of the things.
So I love being a part of all these services because like Tyler will use my PlayStation Plus account. He doesn't have to buy his own, so he can play online. And now you're having games that don't need PlayStation Plus, like Apex. He can play as much Apex as he wants. You don't need online. So I don't know. I love being a part of all these, having all the options, getting the Super Nintendo games that I haven't played before. I love it.
Yeah. That actually has been fun.
Yeah, and like having the Game Pass, like I don't own Minecraft and anything, so I'm like, Lucas, do you want to try Minecraft? So download Minecraft, play it. Tyler played Gears 5. Outer Worlds is coming for Game Pass like launch day. I'm so excited.
That is exciting.
So I subscribe to all of them, and I will probably keep subscribing because I still love the discounts I get for owning these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend like so much on digital games that I'm always earning my money back that I spend on Plus and anyway. So
Yeah.
I love all the services. I game the system to get them cheaper. To be fair, but
I think it's awesome.
Well, but I think that goes back to my point though, is that Sarah, for you, that is excessively value, or that's an excessive value for you.
yeah. It just gets like there is one caveat with digital content though that I'll just add before I close. That where does your content go when you die? Who owns it? Like we don't have a
whoever has
system
your
in place.
password owns
Great
it.
question.
There is no system.
That's
in
what
place.
I'm leaving in my will is the passwords to all of my
Yeah,
gaming
exactly.
accounts.
Like nobody knows my password to PSN, and I have hundreds of games. Like I am the account holder. I have all the Plus games. They're gone if nobody knows my password. So yeah, it's just you don't truly own anything really. Or if like when the PlayStation had their huge outage, you can't play any PlayStation digital games you had. Like it's just it's just a weird system.
That makes me wonder. Sorry, just a side note, and then Sarah can close. Makes me wonder though, like, because you know when people pass away and they're like the inheritance thing, there's always like taxes and all this crap
Yep.
on it. Like, what are they gonna do with all of us gamers when we all die and we've got
It
all
is
these like
so
all these like
new.
digital games? Like, how are they gonna tax that? I don't even know.
It is so new and undiscovered.
Anyway, what's your
But-
wrap up
They'll
this
I
find
will.
a way.
Okay, so thank you for listening. First of all, you can find us. We stream on Twitch on Tuesday nights. We've been doing WoW Classic lately. It's old, and then you gotta go to our website where you can find all the things we do. Our podcast, rollthelevel.com. We are on the YouTubes where you can find Thought You Ought to Know. We upload that. We try to upload that every Friday to have your 5 pieces of news that we thought you might have missed. Get our podcast that we put up every Tuesday on all the streaming services that you can possibly think of. So thank you for listening and helping us roll the level.